Okay, so today I'm going to be working on this, well, not this one, Get Rich or Die Gaming. I'm going to be working on the Steam port of my very first Xbox Live game, Get Rich or Die Gaming. Um, this was written in 2010. It was my first C-sharp project, and it was also my first XNA game, and I just did a really, really terrible job with it. I mean, just tons and tons of global variables, lots of repetition, lots of spaghetti code, lots of confusing stuff. I mean, yeah, just just looking at these object instantiations, it's pretty disgusting. So I could, it does run. Well, not at the moment, but originally, the code did run and it was pretty stable, but it was just disgusting. And so I decided I was going to refactor it. So today, and maybe even tomorrow if I can't get it done, I'm going to be refactoring this code. So splitting it out into different states. So originally all the content was just down here, and there were really strange names and all that sort of stuff. But now I've like split it into like backgrounds, and each background has a power of 2 width and power of 2 height, and same with the characters, cursors as well. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be refactoring this whole project to make it a bit cleaner. To be honest, I do regret doing this because it's basically a complete rewrite because, 'cause I was thinking I was going to change things here and there, but as I started changing, I just started changing more and more and more, and now it doesn't build. Well, it does build, but it doesn't run properly. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing today, and I guess before I leave the office, I'm going to see how much I get done. Okay, so didn't I think I did a lot of stuff today. I got all these queues, these text queues working so that they inherit from the base class queue, and they have update and draw methods. Those haven't all been written yet, but basically I cut out a lot of the parameters that were there, and basically simplified all these queues quite a bit. The logic inside them isn't, I don't know if it's working or not, but it's still there, and we can kind of bang it into shape later. So I'm pretty happy with the queues at the moment. The queues are basically a big part of the cutscene. So a cutscene is made up of a bunch of queues. So you'll have a lot of sound and text queues. You'll have some graphic queues as well. Animation and animated character queues are a bit rare. End queues just basically define the time when the cutscene ends. It should probably be long. So after doing the queues, I picks up the cutscenes. So the cutscenes are a bit messy at the moment. I mean, it has this ID thing, which is not really needed. But if I get rid of it, it's gonna go a bit crazy because it is used, but we need to restructure the way we're starting the cutscenes before we do anything there. It's got a rejoin state, which tells you which state to go back into after the end of the cutscene. But these are the two big ones, the all scene objects and the currently displayed objects. So all scene objects are basically all the queues in the cutscene, and currently displayed objects are queues that are active at the moment. And an active queue is basically a queue that his fire at time and his remove at time is, the timer is basically in between those two values. So when we update the cutscene, originally all this was kind of done outside of the cutscene object, so we would run some code onto the cutscene, whereas right now we're running this update inside the cutscene, so it's accessing its own. It's just a lot more object oriented this way. We're using these controls instead of we're using this controls class instead of doing all outside as well. So basically all it does is it checks for if you click, it listens for a click, and if there's a click, it jumps to the next audio cue, so it's basically a skipping thing. It moves all scene objects to currently displayed objects if the timer is greater than the fire at, and this just is a check for expired queues. Uh, I also created an audio manager. It's pretty simple. It's basically just a singleton pattern, and yeah, it just plays. It just stores all this, whereas all this stuff was in game one before, and everything was kind of globally accessed. Yeah, game one I chopped it up quite a bit. The big thing is in update, we still have a lot of global variables, but it's going to take me. I need to think about how to deal with them. In update, we basically update the controls, so we get the latest control state from the mouse and the keyboard, gamepad as well. But I mean, I'm not really supporting Xbox. I'm not going to make a new Xbox build. Then the game state manager just runs an update on whatever state it's in. And then in the draw, it's the same sort of thing. I mean, we set up the sprite badge and the sprite badge, but we just call draw on whatever current state we're in. So we should probably look at game state manager. Game state manager. Yeah, so when you initialize it, it defines all the states. Right now we have logo, controls, game over, main menu, pause menu. These two are very similar. And cutscene state. You might notice that we do not have a normal gameplay state, which is just basically the gameplay. That's very tricky. It's basically a huge, massive state, and I'm kind of working myself my way over to that. After initializing all the states, we start on the logo state. So we just grab that from the dictionary. When we change state, the previous state is set to the current state. The current state is the next state that's passing to us. Previous game state, we exit the previous game state and we enter the current game state. And there are some arguments that can be passed as well if needed. Go back just jumps back to the previous game state. Update just updates the current game state, and draw just draws the current game state. So it's a lot better than what we used to have. We used to have basically a huge, not even a switch state. We used to have just basically a huge if statement in game one, and then we'd have like a update logo, update main menu, update pause menu, update cutscene, update gameplay state. It was pretty dirty, and for draw we had the same sort of thing. Yeah, I mean we also have this load current room textures. I have no idea what I was thinking when I did this. I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm just gonna delete it as soon as I can. Yeah, so this probably needs a few more days to get ready, and the more changes I'm making, the more likely I'm going to introduce bugs. So it's a bit daunting actually. It probably needs a full week, which is not really ideal because I want to work on other stuff. Anyway, that's what I got up to this Thursday. Why don't we give it a build? It's a bit slow. This computer is it's 2010 model. It's not actually the one I developed this game on. I developed this game on an even worse computer, the 2008 model Dell laptop. Okay, so this is the logo state and main menu state. We can jump into controls. Not the best control screen, but I guess it'll do. Press escape. And then we can jump into...
Wilson is playing Dota. He is a major pro and already has 3 kills. But then, something terrible happens.
The audio seems to be...
His Dota-hating dad comes home from work early.
And it's going to crash, because after this cutscene, it wants to jump into the normal game state, normal gameplay state, which probably should just be called gameplay, I don't know. It wants to jump into the normal gameplay state, but we haven't actually defined it in our dictionary, and we haven't made a game state object for that either. It's not there. So that's why it's crashing. I haven't really looked into it, but it sounds like the audio is playing more than once, so I've got to figure out why that's happening. But yep, that's Thursday.